Hey, what's going on, everybody? Let's get into an argument today. Command line arguments, clearly. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Java folder. Let's go ahead and right click it, show more options, and open with code. Now, with Visual Studio Code open, I'm going to go ahead and full screen this. Let's make a new file, and I'm going to go ahead and just call this argue. So let's just say argue.java. Did I spell that correctly? I did not. So let's go ahead and rename this, make it argue. A little cleaner. So now let's go ahead and make our class. We're going to call this class argue. And then inside of this class, we're going to go ahead and have our main method. So go ahead and say it with me. Public static void main string array args. And let's get into it. And I don't actually mean the main method this time. Let's actually get into this string array args that we've actually taken a look at before. So what is that exactly? We've talked about the main method, we've talked about the public static void and all that, but what is args? So this is something funny that I actually struggled with a lot when I was first starting out. But args is a set of arguments that you can pass in on the command line that you can make your program do a whole bunch of different stuff. So in this case, let's go ahead and tinker with that. Because remember, it's just like any other variable that we've passed in before. So one thing I could do here is do a simple check. So let's say if args.length is equal to 0, then we're going to run some code inside of this if. We're going to just simply say system.out.println, and then let's just say nothing here. Just in case there's nothing there, let's save this. And now let's go ahead and open up our command line. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my terminal. And then here I'm going to go ahead and cd to my desktop and my Java folder. And now we're going to go ahead and run this. So we're going to say javac argue.java. No errors. So let's go ahead and run it. We're going to say java argue. Helps if I spell it correctly. There we go. And you can see nothing here. Well, what happens if it's more? Right now, our program's not going to do a heck of a lot here, so let's go ahead and make it do something a little different. So let's put an else here, and if it's bigger, we're just going to simply say system.out.println, and we're going to say stuff is here. Now, the reason why this else is going to work is because the else is looking at the length. Remember, if it's not 0, then it's probably going to be greater than 0. Technically, there is a possibility of a negative, but in this case, we know that's not possible. So if I save this, and let's run it again. So if I go javac argue, and then java argue, we see nothing here. Let's pass in our first command line argument. So I'm going to go ahead and say java argue, and then let's just say hello. Now you can see it says stuff is here, which is pretty cool, right? So let's make it do a little bit more than just say stuff is here. Why don't we just print out the stuff? So if I say args 0 to get the first thing that we passed in, now let's go back and compile and run this. So if I say javac argue, and then I say java argue hello again, now we get hello to print. Well, what if we wanted to do something like hello world? So let's do it again. Let's go java argue hello, and let's also pass in world. Well, notice now that hello is the only thing that ran. And that's okay. That's because of the way that we set up our code. So let's go back and take a look at that real quick. So looking at this, I can see that if I have args length of 0, that I just say nothing's here. But then for everything else, I just do args 0. Well, remember, this is an array. So all of the array stuff that we were talking about before holds for this. We're going to have to go through this array to actually see what we have. So an if statement may not be the best thing, but what we could do here inside of this else, we could just make a for loop. So we could say for int I equals 0, I is less than args.length, and then we'll just say I plus plus. And now we can loop through this args array. So I can simply do something, say like a system.out.println, and then here we can say args I. And now I can run through this just like this. So now let's run it. Java C, argue.java, didn't break, nice. And then now we're gonna go and do Java argue hello world. And we get the hello world just kind of like what we expect. But what if we didn't pass in anything? Let's just make sure that still works. So if I say Java argue, nothing here. So that's just the basics of command line arguments. It's something that I struggled with a lot when I was first starting out. It seems pretty difficult, but it's not too bad. So just wanted to run through this really quick, give you the example, show you that it's pretty easy. Other than that, I am DB, you are you. Let's keep rocking and let's keep learning. Oh, that hurt. Thanks everybody. Hope you all have a good one. Take care.